Hello and welcome to our first pilot episode of Rational Reality, which is a new series that we put together where we're really wanting to produce a regular theme vlog around all the things that are relevant to the industries and sectors that Woodhead Group operate in. So that includes construction, housing, and also the office and conferencing markets as well. We want to provide some thoughts, some opinions, some practical ideas and solutions and things that will help people that work and operate in those areas to answer some of the big questions that are being asked of those sectors at the moment. There's a lot of talk around things like AI, automation, big changes in the way that we're working at the moment, and in particular is the inescapable impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. So there's been some huge changes happening in terms of those technological innovations, and we're wanting this series to be all about the people aspect. We're going to look at the people, what those real solutions are, what's practical and what's not practical, and how we can work with the advances that we're seeing coming through in terms of technological or just process advances to make the best of the industry. We have some great themes lined up over the coming weeks, and we're going to be inviting people to get involved in more of those moving forwards, and we'll be sharing more information on that later on. But if you'd like to get involved in that and you're on social media, you can get tagging straight away using the hashtag WoodheadRR in any social media posts. So for this first episode then, I'd like to introduce Ali Taylor, who's recently been promoted to the Associate Director of Operations for Woodhead Construction and is now part of the strategic team. Ali's been key in our response to the COVID-19 pandemic and helping us to make sure that we're in the right position. So Ali, how are you finding it all at the moment?
Yeah, really good, thank you, Tom. I've been doing a lot of the role for the past few years, working with the SLT quite a bit, but it's been really useful, and I'm really delighted to have the role and to get involved with a lot more of the strategic outlook of the business and be a part of making those decisions. I really enjoy that, and I'm really enjoying the team environment, and it's all about the best for the business, which is great to see.
I think it's fair to say it's been a whirlwind few months in terms of the new role, and there's a lot happened since January. So from your perspective, what's the big picture at the moment? How many sites have we got operational at the minute?
Well, the big picture for us, Tom, is basically keeping people safe whilst maintaining efficiency on site. We've got all our sites open. Obviously, we closed them down originally, but they're all up and running now, all 23 of our sites. So for me, it's just about keeping people safe and gradually increasing that efficiency on site as we add more and more labour and resources to that site.
So talk us through some of the things that we're doing on site to make the business COVID secure. What have we learned from the wider industry? What kind of things have we put in place?
Well, obviously, as you know, it's been a moving feast for the past 2-3 months. Lots of speculation, but we've focused really on the DLC guidance, from the Construction Council. Now, they've brought out some really good guidance. I think we're on to the 4th edition now, and that's what we are basically basing our standard operating procedures around on site. So a lot of this stuff starts with construction phase health and safety plans, the management of that, and also risk and method statements, having a COVID specific risk and method statement. For me, and on site and the practicalities, that's a lot more wash stations. We've got questioning on the site gates about the 4 questions of: are you feeling ill? Are you, have you been in contact with people with the virus? So we're really sort of monitoring that before people get into site. It's all about 2-metre distancing where possible, and maintaining welfare and canteens where we're doing a rota basis and making sure I've got a strict cleaning regime and monitoring that at all times. From my point of view, I'm delighted to see that all our subcontractors and supply chain have played such a key part in delivering that and maintaining that safe approach. We can't do it on our own, and it's fantastic to see that everyone's on board with it, and as it should be, safety is top priority.
Am I right in thinking as well that we've also recently produced a video that backs up a lot of what we're doing out on site as well?
We have, yes, yeah. We released a video. We based it upon our University of Nottingham site, PEMC building. DAB, Groundworks and Civils played a huge part in recording that video because they were the first ones of our sites and our subcontractors to be involved with a site during the COVID pandemic. So, I like to think that it gives a good impression of Woodheads and our proactivity of what we want to run on site and how we want to operate. And, again, all credit to the subcontractors, especially DAB there. They had a massive concrete pour on that day when we filmed that. And we wanted some actual live action when we filmed that, because it's all good about talking things when no one's on site, but it's great to see it in practice when people are on site. I suppose I can mention a few other subcontractors, like especially on Wentworth with Sean Knight, just adapting to the COVID pandemic. We've Sean Knight and his team, and they were off site. They took some stonework to work on whilst they're off site, individually in the garages, I suspect, or at the workshop. We've also had some other great subcontractors come forward, such as Bell Plumbing and Heating, APH, about proactive ways on their RAMs and giving us information how they're going to manage their own troops and the people on site, which is great to see. We're all in it together.
And interestingly, you say there's new ways of working out on site. And on Monday, Robert Jemrick said that construction operations could potentially be extended now into evenings up to 9 p.m. and potentially even into weekends. How do you feel that advice affects us and I suppose the industry more broadly? Do you think it'll make an impact on our sites at all? Do you see anything changing over the coming weeks?
Well, yeah, I think it's a good thought in but we've got to take into account the type of work that we do. A lot of our sites are housing sites, and we're generally working in and around neighbourhoods, other people, neighbours, and I don't think many people would be much. They wouldn't like to think that someone's driving a 360 around site at 9 p.m. at night. They want to get on with their tea, put the kids to bed, and we have got to take that into account. We're a considerate constructor. We need to take all that into account and make sure that we're doing not only the best for ourselves, but the people that we're affecting. And again, it's not just a click of the fingers and our subcontractors, our supply chain are all operating to this 9 p.m. Working hours and also Saturdays. It's going to take some time if we want to do it, and B, if it's going to happen like that, for us to build up to that. So it's really taking it as a site-by-site basis to see if we can implement that, and if we want to really. And especially with daylight hours, it's all well and good in the summer, but as soon as you're in the winter, there's no chance you're working until 9 p.m. generally outside or in your plots.
You mentioned there every site's a little bit different and taking it on a site-by-site basis. You also mentioned that quite a lot of what we deal with is in the housing sector, so homes. Have you found that the way we're working within those housing sites differs slightly to maybe the larger scale construction sites where social distancing is that bit easier?
Yeah, all sites are different, and obviously we do housing, we do refurbs, we do commercial buildings, university buildings, and with regards to housing, and you generally have one or two trades in a house maximum at any one time. So a lot of this social distancing has pretty much been there previously. I mean, when you come to the end of a site and you're rushing around to get your defects completed, etc., and get your snags completed, it's a different matter. But generally, when we're looking at housing, there might even be some good that's come out of the COVID way we do things, because we'll have one subcontractor potentially going into a plot, and they will have to leave that absolutely perfect, absolutely clean. The site manager will have to have a look at it, inspect it, and the job could work more efficiently potentially. Obviously, it's early days now. I'd say we're probably operating about 60 to 70% generally across the board on our housing sites. We're trying to up that to 80 or 90 where possible. But generally in houses you don't have that much space, whereas on our other sites like PEMC at the University of Nottingham, it's a larger site. However, you've got far more supply chain members, subcontractors, staff that are on site that we need to manage correctly that could be in one place. It might be a large room, but could be in one place at any given time. So, one-way systems, making sure that 2 meter distancing, staggered breaks, etc., etc. We need to just put those in place. I think the main issue or hardship might be around refurbs, where you're really in, especially with historic buildings or moderately old buildings, that you've got plenty of people in a certain place, and you're working inside generally. It's got to be mindful of that. And I think that's where we'll see the lower percentage of efficiencies on site, really, for me.
Okay, thank you for that. I think we're running close to time, but before we do wrap up, I've got another question really around how we've been supporting customers around or in behind the scenes, particularly ones maybe where they've struggled with their own site to be able to keep it active themselves, let alone the construction aspect, but maybe the wider site. So what have we been doing around that? Have we been doing anything from your point of view?
Well, I think communication's been our biggest factor here. We build great relationships with our clients, and it's all about communicating. We're generally, we think we're very good at communicating. Always room for improvement, but whilst we were going through this pandemic, and just before we were thinking about basically shutting down our sites, it was always on the phone to our clients. We had a global email go out to our clients as well. So it was one train of thought, and it's just about keeping that momentum. At one point we did reduce down to some key staff, but we still had to maintain that touch point with our clients, and it's about just picking up the phone to them, getting them in the loop, because they're, together we're stronger, and together we can help each other out and support each other. So we were telling them what we need, and they were telling us what we need, and that's the strength of a relationship, really.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Ali. There's been some great insights there. And before I wrap up, I also want to mention, going off on a bit of a tangent, but we have a virtual quiz coming up as well when we talk about these new ways of working. So the Big Building Quiz with Quizmaster Chris is taking place on Friday the 29th at 5 p.m. It's free to enter. There'll be a link on the screen that you can follow if you would like to join us for that. And that's all we have time for this week, but please follow Ali and I on LinkedIn. You'll again see the links on the screens for our profiles where you can follow us on there. And keep an eye out for the next episode. If you would like to get involved, or you've got any themes or questions that you'd like answering as part of this series, you can also drop me an email directly to twoodhead@woodhead-group.co.uk. And we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you very much.